You fought Jon Jones back in the day. People are
Why you only bringing up my losses?
People are all talking about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. How do you see that fight going? You got Tom or you got Jon?
Man, I don't think there's nobody on this planet that can beat Jon Jones because I was in there with him. I was at my best, and I've never lost a fight at my best until Jon Jones. And, you know, no disrespect to Tom Aspinall, but he...
Now, of course, this is one of the most highly anticipated fights in all of UFC history. And you can't just announce it, oh, the fight's going to happen. No.
That's stupid.
Fights of this magnitude, the UFC want to do a proper job. They want to announce it in a spectacular fashion. They want to have a press conference. They want the world's media there. They don't want someone on YouTube or whatever or on the phone just going, yeah, the fight's happening, right? Even when I was fighting my fight.
And I know what you're going to say, Jon Jones is retired. Yep. But if he never steps into the cage with you and you two never fight, what do you think that does for his legacy, but also for your legacy? Is it possible for you to be the best and be the greatest without beating him?
That's someone else's opinion, to be honest. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not really thinking about that too much, to be honest.
So it doesn't, that sort of stuff doesn't bother you, as long as you're fighting the people that are in front of you.
I can only control what I can control. The other stuff is to do with other people.
Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any of the latest drops in the MMA world. Now, let's get straight to it. Tom Aspinall has fired back at critics, making it clear that his legacy will continue, with or without Jon Jones. On the flip side, Rico Verhoeven had high praise for Aspinall, saying he's an absolute beast, both standing and on the mat. Rico believes Jones has never faced someone with Tom's striking caliber, even comparing Tom's hands to his own. He added that Aspinall could easily compete in elite kickboxing, and boldly claimed that Jon Jones wouldn't last. Tom would dominate him.
There's one guy who could mimic a Jon Jones on the feet. It's Rico Verhoeven.
He's going to wipe the floor. He's going to wipe the floor with Jon Jones.
You believe
Jon Jones doesn't have a chance versus Tom Aspinall. Mark my words. Tom Aspinall is a freaking monster.
I love it.
On his feet and on the ground. So, and I truly believe that Jon Jones has never faced somebody that is that good on his feet. On the ground, he's faced some guys that are pretty good, but on his feet, I think Tom is, he would even do good in the kickboxing ring. He would be a top competitor for to fight me as well.
Michael Jai White weighed in too. He acknowledged Aspinall's skill and interim title, but emphasized that when it comes to legacy, Jon Jones's resume stands taller. White pointed out Alex Pereira being a two-division champ as a benchmark and noted that Tom has mainly dealt with fresh contenders. Still, he admitted a matchup between Tom and Jones would be intriguing. As for Tom himself, he said his biggest challenge right now isn't another fighter, but the politics behind the scenes. He confirmed a fight is lined up, but said he couldn't say more for now. He mentioned he's touched on it in other interviews, but is keeping quiet for the time being.
Talking of next fights, one of the big topics of conversation is kind of what's next for you. It almost feels like your biggest opponent at the moment is the politics outside of the cage rather than who you're actually facing. How is it? Where are we at? What's going on?
Well, this is not an exclusive. I said this before on other media outlets. I've got a fight coming up soon, so I can't say anything else other than that, really.
Obviously, you're not going to tell us who, when, or anything like that. I know you're not allowed, but in terms of the heavyweight division, why do you think the top guys are so reluctant to fight at the moment? Do you think it's fear? Do you think it's strategy? Or do you think it's the system just giving them reasons not to?
Probably all three, I would imagine.
He also opened up about how political drama in the sport only started affecting him in the last 10 months. Tom called high-level competition complicated and admitted it's all just part of life in elite sports. Despite the roadblocks, he remained upbeat and said he truly believes things will come together in time. He finished by telling fans to stay tuned. Something exciting is on the way.
There's a lot of there are a lot of politics involved, unfortunately, but that is the nature of elite sports. That's what happens. is not something that I've experienced too much of, to be honest, up until the last kind of 10 months of my life. But I think, I really believe it's going to come good in the end and everything's going to work out for the best. So we look forward to that.
Daniel Cormier didn't hold back either. He said straight up that being a real champion means stepping forward when the opportunity presents itself. With someone like Aspinall clearly ready, Cormier questioned why Jones hasn't responded. He reminded everyone that the Jon Jones people admire is the one who always took on the hardest matchups. Drawing from his own experience, Cormier said if he were still active, that fight would have already gone down. He said taking on elite opponents is what defines greatness, and Jones's current silence just doesn't match the legend people remember.
Jon Jones will get to retire from fighting. But if he doesn't fight this guy, then that's just him quitting. There's one real fight for him, and he's not so old and washed up that he can't take it. So that's how I feel about that. We fought them all. I can tell you guys on good authority, if I was still fighting today and I was still the heavyweight champion and Tom Aspinall was the #1 contender, I would have already fought him. 1,000%. The mindset that I carried through my fight career, knowing how dangerous, it would have done nothing but excite me to see someone standing across the octagon that could potentially beat me or knock my ass out. That would have made me train harder, smarter, and be more prepared than I ever could have been. That's what that would have done to me. What it's doing to Jon Jones is very disturbing, and it's very hard for me to understand, because in my mind, this guy's a fighter, because I've seen him do it time and time again. I don't know. It's very, very, it's a very weird situation going on with this Jones thing.
Cormier continued, saying that this ongoing delay is sending ripples through the MMA community. Even though Jones's past speaks volumes, avoiding a unification bout, in his opinion, isn't what champions do. Cormier argued that if Jones really wants to cement his legacy, beating Aspinall is the way to do it. But right now, the version of Jones we're seeing doesn't live up to his former self.
The right thing is to go fight this kid. And if you beat him, which is a real thing and a real likely scenario, you can then stick it to everybody like you've done on so many different occasions and tell them about it. Nothing feels better to a guy like Jon Jones to be able to beat the guy that you thought was going to get him and then him going, what did I say to you? It's sweeter than any title or anything else you can give this man. But he's got to be willing to take that chance to go and fight this dude. Hey, could Tom Aspinall put him out? Absolutely. Tom Aspinall could put him out. He could shut his lights out. Because guess what? You can hit Jon Jones. He can be hit. But he's tough. And he has a great chin. He can be hit, though. And if he gets hit by that dude, a big guy like that who's fast, Tom could put him out right away. That's a real possibility. But there's also a possibility that Jones takes him deep into a fight that he's never, in a place where he's never been before, where Jones has lived. Jones has lived in those places, and he could drown Tom Aspinall. But we'll never know if this dude don't just fight or quit. Or quit. That's the truth. Not everybody gets to retire.
When asked if Jon not stepping into the cage with him would impact either of their legacies, Aspinall responded calmly. He said that kind of thing isn't something he worries about. He's focused on what's in his hands and whether people think he needs to beat Jones to be considered the best. That's for others to decide. What matters to him is handling the fights he's given.
And I know what you're going to say, Jon Jones is retired. Yep. But if he never steps into the cage with you and you two never fight, what do you think that does for his legacy, but also for your legacy? Is it possible for you to be the best and be the greatest without beating him?
That's someone else's opinion, to be honest. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not really thinking about that too much, to be honest.
So it doesn't. That sort of stuff doesn't bother you, as long as you're fighting the people that are in front of you.
I can only control what I can control. The other stuff is to do with other people.
Thinking back on his own journey, Tom was asked what he'd tell his 10-year-old self who dreamed of becoming a world champ. He smiled and said he'd tell that kid, "You did all right." But he quickly added, "It's far from over." Cracking a joke, he said he's not in silk pajamas yet, and there's no farewell speech coming anytime soon. He made it clear, there's more to achieve, and he's just getting started.
Well, if you were to talk to that 10-year-old boy who first kind of put his dreams on becoming a champion, what would you say to him now about the whole kind of ride and the whole journey of this?
I'd say I've done pretty good. But like you said before, it's not over yet. We're not in the silk pajamas yet, or whatever the phrase is.
It's not the big goodbye speech.
Yeah, we're not giving it. There's more work to do, so keep at it and keep enjoying it.
Rashad Evans took a more measured stance. He acknowledged how heavy the weight of Jones's legacy is. Evans said he doesn't think Jones is scared. He just believes Jon's thinking carefully about what still excites him after all these years at the top. Every move now ties into Jones's legacy and personal goals. According to Evans, it's about more than facing a hard opponent. It's about knowing what still drives you.
All right, last thing. Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, who you got?
I got Jon Jones. I think Tom Aspinall is a man, but I feel like, Jon Jones is just another level. He can do it in so many different ways with his striking, with his grappling, and I feel like, being in a situation, coming in a fight where he's kind of being pushed into this one, I feel.
Tom's a big boy.
Yeah, but I feel like with Jon's a big boy too, and Jon knows how to fight like a big boy.
Right.
One thing I feel like what Tom does really well is he moves so well, and I feel like that may give Jon a little bit of trouble, but I feel like Jon is smart enough to figure it out.
Michael Bisping had a different theory. He suspects the UFC might be intentionally keeping things under wraps, working behind the scenes for a huge reveal. In Bisping's eyes, the silence could be strategic, a way to build up hype through press events and surprise promos. If that's true, he said the wait might be worth it, especially if it leads to one of the most historic heavyweight bouts ever.
Now, of course, this is one of the most highly anticipated fights in all of UFC history. And you can't just announce it, oh, the fight's going to happen. No.
That's stupid.
Fights of this magnitude, the UFC want to do a proper job. They want to announce it in a spectacular fashion. They want to have a press conference. They want the world's media there. They don't want someone on YouTube or whatever or on the phone just going, yeah, the fight's happening, right? Even when I was fighting my fights, I wasn't allowed to announce them. They wanted to announce them, as I say, in the proper way to make sure that all the world's media is there and it gets all the coverage that it deserves. This is the kind of fight that, of course, deserves that kind of attention. This is a fight the world are crying out for.
Chael Sonnen dropped a bombshell. He said Jon Jones asked for $12 million to fight Tom Aspinall, and the UFC actually agreed. That would make it the most lucrative payday in UFC history, more than Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, or GSP ever pulled. But even after securing that amount, Jones hasn't made a move. Sonnen doesn't think it's about fear, though. He believes Jones is being strategic, waiting for the perfect time, or using it as leverage.
Allegedly, the number that Jon wanted, and I believe that to be $12 million. I got my own sources. I don't believe that Jon's turned it down. Even though Ariel's confirmed it, even though that's believed in our industry, I do not believe that Jon Jones got a phone call matching Jon Jones's demands and he said no. And I do not believe that Jon Jones would play that game of chicken. Moreover, I don't believe that if he did, we wouldn't have heard about it. If they believe it, if it's to the point that they're ready to move on, it's to the point when they're done trying is when they go book a different fight for Tom.
Robert Whitaker's patience seems to have run out. At first, he understood Jones taking time to recover and plan, but now he feels it's gone on too long. The excitement has faded and turned into frustration. He's particularly bothered that Aspinall has been left in limbo, unable to plan his next steps. Whitaker believes that being a real champ means staying active, and he questioned whether Jones should still be holding that belt if he's not going to use it.
Honestly, who cares now?
Yeah, true.
Like, I'm done. I'm done with waiting. It's like, yeah, it's like Elder Scrolls 6, dude. It's just like, you know what I mean? Just, you gotta have to play something else, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. And honestly, everyone nagging him and poking at him and trying to get clips and stuff is worse for me. Like, they're like, yeah, it's way worse for me. It's just, I'm done with that too. I'm just done. I think
I get it.
I don't know how Jones still holds the title, honestly. Like, I know I mentioned when we first started speaking about this many moons ago, how I was like, no one's stripping Jones. You can't do that to him. But mate, come on, you're taking the piss now. You're taking the piss now. Like, but let alone just. I don't know. How long's it been since Tom's fought last?
Man, almost a year. Almost a year. It's actually insane.
Fighting.
Frank Mir came with a fair perspective. He gave props to Aspinall's speed and precision, saying Tom is a serious threat. But Mir also defended Jon Jones. He said after all these years of facing the best in the world, Jones has earned the right to be picky. He believes that if Jon can drag the fight into close quarters, he'd still back him to win, even against someone as dangerous as Aspinall.
I think Aspinall's a phenomenal heavyweight. I think he's going to be there for a while. With Jon, it's hard for me to tell people. The guy's earned so much. I feel like sometimes people have such a short memory in our sport. The guy has been one of the most dominant fighters of all time. If he wants to pick and choose who he fights, at a certain point, he kind of earned the right to. But, he faced criticism, I guess, from other people. But as far as what settles in my stomach, well, I get it. Because look how people are short memory with him right now. Oh, he's not the GOAT, and he's dodging Tom. Like, man, this guy fought everybody. I don't count him out in a fight with Aspinall. I've trained with Jon. I know how he feels when he grabs a hold of you. I think Tom's hands could really be the X factor if we catch him or not. Tom's striking is more powerful than a lot of the people, and speed-wise in Jon's face. If Jon grabs him, though, I'm betting on Jon.
Rampage Jackson didn't sugarcoat anything. He said he doesn't think anyone can actually beat Jon Jones. Reflecting on their fight, Rampage said he was in prime condition, but still got shut down. He respects Aspinall's talent, but doesn't think he poses a real threat to Jones. In fact, Rampage said he's heard rumors that Jones has been studying Aspinall's style for 6 months in preparation. He called Jon the Neo of MMA, praising his ability to read and dismantle opponents.
You fought Jon Jones back in the day. People are
why you only bringing up my losses?
People are all talking about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. How do you see that fight going? You got Tom or you got Jon?
Man, I don't think there's nobody on this planet that can beat Jon Jones because I was in there with him. I was at my best, and I've never lost a fight at my best until Jon Jones. And, no disrespect to Tom Aspinall, but he a good fighter. You know what I'm saying? I think he's probably second best out there, but I don't see him.
You think Jon Jones finishes him?
I think Jon Jones is just a real smart fighter. I heard something like he want to take 6 months before he fight Aspinall. I think it's because he want to study him. He want to break him down, Right. Jon Jones ain't no fool. He's probably one of the smartest fighters out there. I say he like Neo. He's Neo of MMA.
Colby Covington, on the other hand, went straight for the jugular. He accused Jon Jones of dodging legit threats like Aspinall. According to Colby, Jones has a track record of picking favorable matchups. He even said Jones ducked Ngannou for years and is now doing the same with Aspinall. Covington said choosing to face an aging Stipe Miocic instead of the young, explosive Aspinall is a sign of fear. He didn't hold back, calling Jones a coward and a cheat who's not willing to face real danger.
Dude, Jon Jones is an absolute disgrace to this earth. He's a joke. I mean, yeah, you beat Stipe. Respect to Stipe first off, because he's a first responder and he puts his life on the line for the people and for his community. So shout out to Stipe. He's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he was past his time. He shouldn't even have been there, man. He knows he was old and he was just showing up for a paycheck. That's not the Stipe of old. That was in his prime anymore. So, I don't think anything special with that performance. I think Jon needs to stop ducking Tom Aspinall, just like he ducked Ngannou. He ducked Ngannou for years. Now he's ducking Aspinall. So he doesn't want to fight the guys he knows he's getting his ass whooped against. So I don't think anything special to Jon.
Francis Ngannou had a different read. He said Jones keeps saying he doesn't need to fight Aspinall, but in reality, it's Tom who needs the fight more. Francis explained that for Aspinall, a win over Jon would be career-defining. But for Jones, it adds very little. Ngannou even said Tom would be a tougher matchup than Alex Pereira, especially with his grappling. In his view, the matchup makes more sense for Tom's journey, not Jones's.
He keeps saying he doesn't want Aspinall.
Aspinall need that fight. I don't need it. When you look at it, pretty much true. There's nothing that he's going to make winning that fight if it's not money. But for Aspinall, that will be everything.
Would you rather see him face Aspinall or would you rather see him face Pereira?
Aspinall will be a more challenging fight because Aspinall respond to a ground game better than Pereira. Aspinall will respond better in the wrestling than Pereira. And he can do whatever he wants.
Joe Rogan had a lot to say too. He praised Jon's career, pointing out that he's beaten guys like Daniel Cormier and always outsmarted his opponents. Rogan said Jones's brain is his biggest weapon. He knows how to break down fighters and take control without taking much damage.
Jon dominates everybody. He took down Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is an Olympic wrestler. I mean, he's a phenomenal wrestler. And Jon took him down. And took him down multiple times. He's a different dude, man.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about, like with genetics, right? There's some guys, they're just blessed. And then with Jon, it's blessed and his mind. It's not just, it's his personality, his like ruthless competitiveness. It's like he's not going to lose. He's going to find a way to get you. And he's going to do it clever. He's not trying to take a bunch of punishment and to stand and bang. He's not going to point the center of the octagon. Let's go right here. We'll stand right here. Never going to happen with Jon Jones. You're not getting none of that, son. You're getting knees to the gut. You're getting your knees kicked. You're getting just laced up with elbows where your head's bleeding. He's going to slowly dismantle you and find a way to submit you or punish you, beat you to death on the ground.
But Rogan also made it clear Tom Aspinall is something else. He called him a freak in the heavyweight division. Rogan said Aspinall's movement is nothing like the usual big men. He moves like a middleweight. That speed combined with power and grappling makes him a serious danger to anyone, including Jon Jones.
But can he do that with a guy like Aspinall, who's a legit 255-pound natural who moves like he's 80 pounds lighter? He's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Aspinall's a freak. Like, I've seen a lot of heavyweight, even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is significantly faster than every other heavyweight. That's a real problem.
So, what do you think about all of this? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you stay in the loop.